everyone, Lauren Good with The Verge here at Code Conference, and I'm sitting here having some tea with Devin Wenig. He's the CEO of eBay. Devin, thanks for being here at Code Conference today.
Thanks, Lauren. Happy to be here.
How was your session on stage with Walt Mossberg and Jason Del Rey?
It was great. Code is always such a great conference, and Kara and Walt and Jason are great interviewers, and it was a really fun session. It was excellent.
Well, a lot of people don't come off stage and say it was fun. I mean, maybe they're saying that, but they don't really think
You know
it.
what? Like, you got to sit in the hot seat, and if everybody's got to do that, and it's a tough interview, but it makes you better for what you do. So it was good. I really enjoyed it.
And you can find the full interview on Recode's Facebook page, recode.net, Recode's YouTube. Basically, we're on the interwebs. So find the full interview and
on the webs.
Take a listen on the webs. So as CEO of eBay, I wanted to ask you, what is the most unusual or obscure thing you have ever bought from eBay? Maybe pre-CEO days.
I bought, I'll tell you what I bought that I'm really proud of recently. I bought a 1991 Land Rover Defender 90, which is kind of like a Jeep.
Oh, I know what a Defender is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's now sitting rusting in my garage. It's not quite running, but it was running when I bought it.
How is it rusting? Do you live in Silicon Valley?
I do.
I mean, I do too, and
Well,
one of the most amazing things is nothing really rusts there.
Yeah, good point. It may not be rusting, but it's not running. But anyway, it's an awesome purchase. I have to fix it up, but that was a really good purchase. I also I lived in New York most of my life, and I moved to the Valley 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I bought an old map of New York City and an old map of San Francisco, and I put them up in my house, which I like. It reminds me of
How old are they?
They're really old, like late 1800s, really cool old maps. And they remind me of the two places in the world that I love, New York and San Francisco.
I actually read recently that you used to collect fishing lures.
I did, when I was a kid, I did, yeah. I wrote that in the Wall Street Journal magazine. When I grew up in the city, and I would spend summers out on the beach on Long Island. And I had this little collection of fishing lures, so that was it was that in Mad magazines, I think, to find my youth.
Do you still fish?
Not really. I don't have time anymore. It's hard. It's really the CEO gig gets in the way of my fishing
for talent,
habit.
fishing for other things, fishing for fraudsters, maybe.
All of that.
Yeah.
But I don't do a lot of fishing anymore.
I'm very curious to hear what the collection of fishing lures is like on eBay. Have you looked into that recently?
I have to. I haven't recently. I'm sure there's a massive collection of fishing lures on eBay.
So one of the questions that Walt and Jason didn't get to in their interview is around fraud, and you talked a lot about perception of eBay on stage. People still look at it as an auction site. It's actually much greater than that. But I think in some ways there is still a little bit of a perception of when you are selling or buying from eBay, you're not quite sure who is on the other end. What is fraud looking like on eBay these days? And what are you doing? Are you using artificial intelligence to counter that? I mean, what are you doing to work on that?
There are two things that eBay's done in the last 10 years that have taken fraud to a meaningless number. Really, nobody on eBay anymore is subjected to fraud. One of them is managing fraud itself on the market. And then the second is something that's been in place about 5 years called the eBay guarantee, which is basically anybody that doesn't get what they want on eBay gets their money back. And that's relatively new, 5 years old. But the first step is making sure that anybody that sells on eBay is valid, is authentic, that the items are real. We take counterfeit items off every day. We take inauthentic items off every day. We use both data and human curation to do that. And the rate that anything goes wrong on eBay is at a historical low. It's incredibly low. Like, if people knew, even at the initiation point, how infrequently anything goes wrong, I think they might be shocked. And then in those small cases where it does, you go through customer service, and if you got, in any case, ripped off, when you're at scale, sometimes that happens, it's unfortunate, you get your money back. Mm-hmm. So at this point, fraud shouldn't be an issue for anyone that buys or sells on eBay.
Is it possible for machine learning to actually spot counterfeit items or spot elements of a transaction that maybe seem
And that's
fishy?
What we use. That's exactly what we use. So, like, we'll look through every item that's sold on eBay, and there's signals that machines can pick up that give you that will set a flag up that says this may be counterfeit, and then you check. Like an Hermes bag that's for sale for $100, that usually doesn't happen. So they're both price checks. There's things that we look for in the text. There's things that we look for in the pictures that set up flags and then allow us to go deeper and check. And that's how we at least take an initial pass. I mean, they're getting close to 1 billion items for sale. There's no way humans can do it. It's really almost all driven by machines.
That's interesting. You look into what exactly are you looking into in the pictures?
There are signals in pictures that, particularly for things like fashion and other things, you can tell there's certain visual cues that machines can pick up that say that's not the real item.
Interesting. So one of the questions we've been asking everybody at Code Conference this week is what their morning routine is.
Oh,
I think yours already involves tea.
No, do you really want to know this?
I really do.
It's really, I don't want to tell you because it's sad, but I will tell you.
Okay.
I wake up really early and I go and I run. I go to the gym, but really early is like 4:30 every morning. And I'm in the gym before 5 or running outside before 5. And then I'm in the office at like 7 when I'm not traveling. So it's a pretty sad routine. But I'll tell you a secret story just because it's just me and you.
Right. No one else is watching.
Right. There are a group of other sad human beings. So there's a group of say 15 or 20 people. We tend to go to the Palo Alto Equinox, which opens at 5 o'clock.
I have probably seen you there.
Okay. So, and it's an interesting group. I'm not going to
I'm a
tell
sad
you,
human being,
I'm not going to tell
apparently.
you who else is there at 4:45.
I know who you're going to say.
I'm not going to say anybody, but it is an interesting group that kind of rocks up. The non-sleepers rock up at 4:45, and there we are. It's a kind of interesting Silicon Valley group. So,
isn't it true that the Equinox doesn't officially open until 5, but there's a group of you that they open it early for?
No comment.
Yes.
No comment on that one.
Yeah.
No comment on that.
No, it's true. If you want to be with the power players in Silicon Valley, you have to get up early.
You got to drag yourself out of bed at 4:45.
Either that or cycle like 50 miles like a maniac.
I'm not sure many people want to. It's not worth it. Let's put it that way.
Do you eat breakfast?
I don't eat breakfast. I know that's not good advice for the kids out there. Bad advice. But I think because I wake up so early, I tend to kind of reverse the way you're supposed to do it. I have a big dinner and I have very little. I don't eat a lot during the day.
What do you do to get your news?
Twitter's become a major news feed for me, and I do think that's what Twitter is really good at. I consume a lot of news early in the morning, but Twitter has in essence become my news aggregator, and I rely on it a lot. I also have a lot of apps that I snack on, but to be honest, when I'm really busy and I don't have time to do it, 5 minutes on Twitter and you're up to date.
You feel caught up.
Yeah.
Do you read hard copies of newspapers? Sundar Pichai yesterday said he still reads a hard copy of the Wall Street Journal every morning.
No, I don't. But I'm not making a statement. I just don't have time, and I love the Journal, but I exclusively read it online. I don't read a lot of paper. It's interesting. I used to read the Sunday New York Times. In paper, and I've even stopped doing that. I notice myself just totally digital now, and it just happens slowly. I didn't wake up a moment and saying this is a revolution, I'm done. It's just crept out of my life, and that's interesting.
Yeah, I still get the Wall Street Journal weekend. I used to work at the Wall Street Journal. I still get the Wall Street Journal weekend, and I have a hard time getting through it sometimes.
Yeah.
I really have to block out the time to do it.
I do think something's missed. Like there is something about Sunday mornings. It's a bit slower, and the pictures are. I think magazines still are really good for brand advertising, for pictures. Digital hasn't quite captured that mood yet, but for whatever reason, it's just I've lost it.
Yeah. I noticed you're wearing an Apple Watch.
I am.
How do you like the Apple Watch?
I like it, but it's a work in progress. I was telling you before, I don't run with it. I don't really use fitness devices. I have my own routine. I don't need anybody telling me that I'm not in shape. I use it snacking on email and text messages and alerts seems to be the use case, because if you're in a meeting, it's marginally less rude to tilt your wrists and to take your phone out of your pocket and unlock it, and kind of that is a disruptive act, and glancing at your watch is a marginally disruptive act. So that's how I tend to use it.
So you think the killer app is basically notifications,
For sure.
email updates,
It's
count?
For me it is.
Right.
Notifications is really the only way I use it.
It's interesting though that you get up so early and you're so diligent to work out, but you're not looking at it as a fitness tracker.
Just because I kind of know what I want to do fitness-wise, and I don't want a machine telling me that I'm not doing the right thing, because I don't want to hear that.
Right. Well, or offering some type of false positive reinforcement.
False positive
I
or
suppose.
false negatives. I'm
Right.
just, at this point, I got my thing and I'm doing it.
Right.
I'm sticking to it.
All right, Devin, thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank
chat
you,
with
Lauren.
us today and for being at Code Conference, and hope to catch up with you in the future.
Appreciate it.
All
Thank
right,
you.
thanks for watching.